Hello YouTube! Welcome to the first video on the channel The Platy Pen. Basically in this video what I want to do is just run you through my intentions of this channel, what I'm breeding, what I'm keeping, what I'm trying to do, videos I'm coming out with, do-it-yourself projects, experiments, things like that. Got a lot on my plate, with my personal life of work and school and everything else, but want to make some videos basically just for the purpose of documentation myself, but also so the YouTube community and those out there with more knowledge than I can chime in, comment, give me some tips and pointers and just things to check out or try. So what I'm doing is I'm working on my own strain of platies as well as breeding platies for sale. I'm also breeding neocaridina shrimp, your cherry shrimp, yellows, blues, those kind of things. I'm also breeding mystery snails. So what I want to do is just walk you around, show you my tanks, let you know some of my experiments, some of the books I read, some of the things that I'm going to be shooting soon. That includes I'm planning on making my own lights. My dad's an electrical engineer, and I am going back to school for my second degree. This one is going to be in electrical engineering technology. So my dad is pretty well versed in the knowledge of electronics, and he's definitely one of the best builders and inventors I've ever known. So we're going to be making some videos on doing lights yourself, how to make that cheap, how to make it safe. We're also going to be doing some things, let's see. We're also going to be making some videos about pond snails. I know everyone hates pond snails, but I think if you're breeding platies, or even if you're just keeping platies, pond snails are an absolute must. So keep an eye out for that video, because I know a lot of people have a bad idea about pond snails. I'm also going to be doing a video on calcium and will it and how well does it regrow the shells on mystery snails. I got a bunch of snails from Petco, and they're PetSmart and Petco, and the shells are absolutely trash. I mean, I feel bad for the way these snails look because their shells are torn and cracked and chipped, and there's probably an inch of a probably an inch long rivet going through the side of the one snail where you could pretty much see his intestines and everything else. So I'm doing a video on how that's going, and I will say it seems to be doing really well. I got a lot of snails who already have their shells growing back and they almost look brand new. I'm also going to be doing a video on catappa leaves and how well they work with antifungal properties, and because I noticed a couple things in my tanks that I had the catappa leaves in that the 7-day feeders weren't buzzing up on. The 7-day feeders by Tetra. But I also had a couple in tanks without catappa leaves where they had those 7-day feeders fungused in 3 days. Now it could be water quality, every tank is a little bit different. But I do have a big feeling that it was due to the catappa leaves and that big piece of driftwood right there, because this was the tank where one of the feeders didn't fuzz up. Me and my dad are also going to be working on a video for a battery backup system. What happens if your power goes out? If you live up here in upstate New York, early or in midway through March, we had a terrible windstorm and about 150,000 people were without power for up to a week. I was one of them. I didn't have power for 5 days. Luckily, I have a Generac system, so as soon as my power went out, that generator kicked on. But what happens if I don't have that? I don't plan on staying in this house forever, so I'm going to need to figure out a backup battery system that I can do. So if I'm at work and the power goes out, that battery system can kick on automatically and I don't have to worry about it. Now later on, come around spring or summer, I'm going to be working on a video of collecting aquatic plants from the St. Lawrence River or from, the tributaries on Lake Ontario, the streams, different things like that. I'm a big fisherman, so I know a lot of good spots where there's a lot of cool plants. But before I do that, I'm also going to include in that video a trip to a DEC station. DEC stands for the Department of Environmental Conservation, and it's our conservation police in New York. I do have a pretty good reputation with them. When I was 16, I did a little volunteering over there where I was taking a look at the cormorant pellets. A cormorant's a type of bird that eats fish. So anyways, when we go to visit the DEC station, we're going to ask them about what kind of aquatic plants we can't take, whether they're endangered, whatever. And we're also going to ask them the best way to take these plants so we don't hurt the environment. I'm also going to be including in that video parasite treatments for those plants. How you can clean up those plants, make sure they're safe and healthy. Because in the St. Lawrence River, Lake Ontario, our connecting tributaries, we have a disease called VHS. It's viral hemorrhagic septicemia. And basically what that virus causes is the fish insides to hemorrhage and bleed out, and he dies from the inside out. I can tell you personally, I have had that transferred into my tank from plants, and it wiped out my entire stock before, and that was what took me out of fish keeping. And it kind of all stemmed back from a store. I'll get into that more as you get to know me a little more through these videos. But you definitely need to treat your plants, because you can invite something into your tank you can't get rid of. There's no known cure for VHS, and you have to nuke your tanks pretty much. I'm also going to be doing a test on the salinity in water for things like different treatments, either for parasites, for fungus, things like that. Also, how much salt is too much, either for your plants or for your fish. So I'm going to be doing a video and an experiment on that. And I'm going to be taking readings and measurements, so you guys don't have to fret if you're doing a parasite treatment or an ick treatment. You're going to know, okay, if I add this much to this amount of gallons, I'm safe, and I still have this much buffering space or room for error. So like I said, I'm going to be going through a lot of my books and a lot of my references, what I know, but the main purpose of this channel is going to be for selective breeding and me making my own strain. Okay, so the video is going to look a little different from a second ago. That's because I'm shooting this a couple days later. And I took about 20 platies to the pet store, just the ones of my culling, the ones I didn't want. So I'll basically walk you through all the tanks now. This is my first tank, 20 gallon long. It's kind of just my platy mutt tank. Just kind of throwing a bunch of different platies in there. I got a male sunburst, a male twin bar. I got a female red wig, female rainbow wig, female sunburst Mickey Mouse, and a female parrot platy, which were labeled at my PetSmart as marigold platies, but we'll get into that later and why they're not actually marigolds. So here's the first one, just a little mutt tank. This one here is a 10 gallon. I had it set up for breeding rosy reds and starting to try that, but when I got my rosy reds, a bunch of them from my local Petco were infested with black grub, yellow grub, and white grub. I'll be doing a video on that, treatments for that. The first attempt at the treatments was a failure. I think I overdosed with the dog dewormer. So yeah, I had about 14 of them. They're now all dead. This next tank, this is my mystery snail breeding tank. I'm also doing a different video on this of an experiment I'm doing with calcium, adding calcium to the water for shell growth. So I got a couple babies in the breeder trap here. Probably hard to make out, little round things on the bottom of the breeder trap. But I think I have 4 purple mystery snails and I think 7 golden mystery snails, and they're breeding like crazy. There's an egg case, there's an egg case, there's one right up above the glass here. There he is. I got ones underneath. Got a couple underneath the breeder traps on each side, and some way up in the back there. So I got eggs everywhere. Got a little incubation cup here. This is my next tank. This was serving as kind of a baby overflow tank, but I'm going to be kind of moving these fish around, getting all the same types in the same tank, so I can start breeding those a little better and working on their colors. And up here I got my little incubation for my mystery snail eggs. This is probably the best way I found to do it, and this was from Rachel O'Leary. So you can check out her video on making a little incubator for the apple snail. She has a lot of good information on that. I learned a lot. And since watching that video and making her little incubation trap here, I've had several mystery snails hatch, which I haven't been able to do before. So just to get a little look at the fish. Where is she? This one swimming up, this orange one. I like her because you can see that back fin there. She's got that little spot, that little black spot. I want to see if I can work with something like that. She is a sunburst neon. I really like that little mark there. The next tank here is a 10 gallon, and this is my snail tank. I'm trying to get breeding. They've been really tough. My local fish store gets some imported from, I believe they said Taiwan. Me and a couple of the other locals have been having trouble getting these guys to breed. So what I'm probably going to do next, I got a lot of 20-gallon longs in the basement I'm setting up, and I'll show you about those. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to order some shrimp from Lucas Bretz and from Rob at Flip Aquatics. And I'm going to try to turn our shrimp population here in Rochester around, because we ain't doing so good right now. This next one was a selective breeding for marigold. See, that's what I get for reading the PetSmart descriptions. This is a baby grow out tank for the parrot platies. I had two females in here. They were with the male, but shortly after I bought them, the male died. Go figure. I got a bunch of live plants in there. I only have 5 kind of juveniles left, and I do have some little fry there. You can see him. He just swam into that Java fern. I took all the rest of them out, and you'll see them downstairs in my basement in the 40-gallon breeder and what I'm doing with that. Parrot platies are my absolute favorite, so I'm designating a whole 40-gallon breeder to them. I'm going to colony breed them, work on their colors, and start supplying to my local fish store. This next tank is another 10-gallon long. This was another selective breeding tank. You can see that big female right there, and she is pregnant as can be. She should be giving birth any day soon. I don't know what she's waiting for. She's had that little white tube at the back of her anal fin for a while. That one right there is a female parrot platy. Let's point her out here. Right there. That's a female parrot platy from my first parrot platy. The male there, the really colorful one, that's another male parrot platy. I really like him because of his body size, or his body shape, and his dorsal fin shape. It's pretty big. But I noticed a little genetic defect in his head, and his mouth is a little crooked there, if you can see. But I kind of like that because that is going to play very well into the fish, into the strain that I'm going to try to selectively breed and create myself. You see that big one again. I like her because of her iridescent blue. She's got that nice shimmering blue. And I want to mix it with his very beautiful opaque gold color. He has a shimmery gold, but it's more opaque than it is like a transparent like hers. So I want those two to mix, and I want to make a nice green out of it. So down here in this tank, we were just trying out the Seachem fluorite substrate. So I want a better substrate for plants and carpets. I'm liking it. It's really easy to plant, very easy to care for. Not a lot of chips or other things that get in the water column. But right now what I have in here is just a bunch of female Mickey Mouse, and I have one redwig in there. Now the reason I have her in there, because right now this is an all-female tank. And my redwig there, where'd she go? She's hiding. Way up there at the surface. She has a bent spine, and I didn't have the heart to take her out when I first had her, and neither did my wife. So, yep, we're keeping her now, and we're just gonna kind of make a little defect tank and move from there. Now my next tank here, this is my beta tank. This beta was a rescue. His name is Rocky Bell Beta, because he takes a punch, and this dude is still going on. When I got him, he was living in like between 7 and 8 parts per million water, or ammonia, in his water. And a lot of his fins, his eyes were completely glossed over. He's flaring his gills for us. His eyes were completely glossed over, he couldn't see. You can see his, not sure the fin that it's called, but you can see his side fin there is pretty translucent. We got the bottom parts growing back. That is really good because you couldn't see any of those fins before. They were so milked up. He's waiting for me right now because he knows I'm going to feed him some frozen brine shrimp, and he's waiting right at the surface for me. But I want to finish this up for you guys. I've been prolonging making this video for a long time, so I've been super busy. So, water sprite. Water sprite's definitely my favorite plant for breeding and for fish. Super fast growing, great cover, easy to propagate, plant new tanks. You just got to keep up on the trimming. So this is my next buddy. This is Lieutenant's Shiny Sides, and he is an electric yellow cichlid. He's in a 25-gallon tall, and he's lived by himself his entire life, except, well, when I first got him, I had him with, it was like an electric blue cichlid, and they didn't get along too well, so I separated him, and the blue cichlid seemed like he needed a friend, and I had to give him away because I couldn't support him with an extra tank at the time. But I still got this guy. I've had him probably about 4 or 5 years now. I've had him. I wish you'd come out and say hi because he's beautiful. That takes care of what's up here right now. I'll take you downstairs. Excuse the mess. Me and my wife are in the middle of painting and everything else. Right. Now this is my favorite tank right now. This is our 40-gallon breeder with the parrot platies. And we just bought these at the Petco $1 sale. We'll probably hear another video on that and why I'm never going to shop at Petco again. Because what happened with that sale was, let's call it messed up and sneaky. But I had to designate a whole tank to this because we love these parrot platies. They are beautiful. Like that female right there. So I've got a nice piece of driftwood in there. I got some, really, I'm not even able to think of the name right now. Bucephalandra on those 3 rocks. Got Anubis floating up there right now. Some water sprite all around. Java fern. Look at them all coming over. They want to eat. I got 22 of them in there right now. I got a bunch more I can add. And then just on the ground right here, there's a 20-gallon long I'm starting the cycle for because I'm going to order those shrimp, and that's going to be what I'm breeding in there. First I want to get the cherry shrimp, make sure it's a problem with the shrimp that we're getting more than it is a problem with my water parameters and how I'm keeping them. So I'd rather test it out. I'm going to be ordering some cherry shrimp from Flip Aquatics and trying those out for a while, see how well they keep, how well they breed. For me, I guarantee they're going to breed and keep really well for anyone who has good water for them. So that's just an overview of the tanks, overview of some of the things that we're going to do here. Stay tuned if you want to stay updated. Nice thing about this, I'm selectively breeding for a strain that I want. I want to make a new strain myself. I know it's going to take, a decade, 2 decades, whatever. But I have a fish in my mind. I love it. I want to see it. And I'm going to try to create it. So, if you want to stick by, subscribe, hit the little bell there. We're going to have more videos coming out. And the cool thing is, you're going to be able to watch this entire process of what I'm doing to selectively breed, what I'm taking, what I'm culling, what I'm mixing together. I'm going to be trying to get a map together of platies, where their original wild forms are from, and then from there I want to make a family tree. So all the common strains that we see today, I want to take a tree and I want to say, okay, started from this wild form, went to here, was bred to this one, was bred to this type, was bred to this type, and the end result is a parrot platy or a red wag or rainbow, whatever it is. I want to get a map together of that because I think it's very important to know the sexual chromosomes of these fish. And to selectively breed these fish and make your own line, you're going to have to know those chromosomes. That's very important. Because different chromosomes display different color traits, color patterns, body shapes. It can determine whether the fish is going to live or die. It's very important with platies. And the weird thing with platies is they have more sexual chromosomes than any other animal. They have a W, an X, a Y, and a Z. Where all other animals just have the normal X and Y based on, what they turn out to be male or female. Oh, I forgot. I got one more tank to take you up to. I got the baby shrimp tank. I hadn't fed them yet, so I was holding off on that. Let's go take a look at them. Okay, so here's the last tank. This is the baby shrimp tank. It's going to be hard to make out right now. Let's see if I can get back in. Okay, It will focus. So sorry guys, I tried, not gonna focus, but you can kind of make out some babies down there grazing off the log. There's quite a few of them. So I can't get my shrimp to breed and I'm having trouble with them staying alive, but if I buy some shrimp that are already buried from my store and that shrimp makes it to where she drops the baby, or I shouldn't say drop, to where she releases the live babies, the babies seem to make it really well. It's just, raising up those parents that's the problem and getting them to breed. You'll see more videos on that because I had one female that's so excited. She became buried and in 2 days I watched her die. And when I watched her die, I actually watched her, acting real finicky and weird, and within like a minute I watched her keel over, and probably about 30 seconds to a minute after that I watched a little planaria worm wiggle out from between the eggs. Saw the eggs move and I got excited. I'm like, man, are they already gonna hatch on me? She just, became buried 2 days ago. But no, there's a little piece of planaria in there. So I don't know if he killed her or what happened with that, but I got rid of all the planaria in the tank. Used not sure what it's called. It was a dog dewormer by Merrick, and that worked real well in all my tanks. So at the last Petco dollar gallon sale, which I was talking about before, I got 7 40-gallon breeders. Here are 5 of them. I also got 320 longs, which all of these are going to be setting up. So that's going to be another video of me setting these up, what I'm going to do with them. I plan on making dividers. Oh, bye kitty. I plan on making dividers for all of them out of foam and probably siliconing them in there. I also have some other ideas where I do a mesh along the bottom that's raised up about an inch from the bottom, and maybe that could do something with if I don't use any gravel or anything, then when a mother gives birth they just drop right through that mesh netting and I don't have to worry about it. The babies can live underneath that mesh. When they get old enough they can swim right back up. One more fish I want to see. This is my original parrot platy. She is what made me fall in love with this strain. Let's see if I can get her out here. There she is lurking in the corner. Ooh, big mama. Come on, big mama. Come on. Let's turn. Ooh, there she is. Isn't that beautiful? I love that fish so much, and that fish made me fall in love with parrot platies. And the offspring that she was shooting are amazing. Some of them are down in that tank right now. But I think because they went from a nice black substrate like this, where they can really darken up and show their color, to a light substrate, I think a lot of them went pale. Not only that, the stress of moving into a new tank, that kind of thing. So hopefully they'll color out, because you can see that bright orange dorsal fin. And a lot of her babies, their dorsal fin is a lot brighter orange. Sorry for the glare there. Oh, don't run away. So I'm really excited to see, what those babies can make, because a lot of them have that orange dorsal fin and that red tail fin, but they're all black tipped. The dorsal fin, all of her fins are black tipped, which is really cool to me. I'm going to try to play around with that finnage, see what else I can make out of it while trying to make my strain. But my main goal is to be making my own strain, trying to go through the process of it. I hope you guys can help me, and I hope I can help you out. That's what this community is about. Whatever you want to call yourself, a hobbyist, an aquarist, whatever you want, we're all here together. We're all here to learn and build off one another and help each other out. So stay tuned. I hope you guys enjoy it.